Joseph Budden, a compadre of mine. And I like this. I like this like little thing. Elliot Wilson, salute to you because I like Charlamagne. I like Joe. It's amazing. Well, I like them. I don't know if they like each other. Whatever. I think Joe got to be on it. I do believe single-handedly Joe might be, if not the most talented, maybe the second, at worst the third personality in terms of captivating an audience. And that's very important to say. There's a lot of niggas who talk, like sometimes they'll be talking about me, yo, how could y'all have academics with, yo, he don't be talking about certain type. Listen, nigga, I don't give a fuck what you talk about. Learn to captivate an audience. That's the biggest thing. Again, it's like motherfuckers like, oh, it's like some of the boxers like now. They're probably like, oh, yo, Logan Paul made $20 million. He never want to fight. Learn business. The business of boxing or boxing period isn't just being really good. If you can't promote the fight, you're never going to earn the money that the fight should get. Business usually has to meet skill set. That's one of the things LeBron James is really good at. And my criticism of him is in the moment. Because truth be told, in 3 months, everybody gonna love Joe again. Right? In 6 months, everybody gonna love that nigga again. Right? But I do believe in a moment that he was tested, it didn't fall too well on him. Right? So again, Joe, I think you throw him anywhere. He's that engaging. He's that magnetic as a person. He's going to get an audience. Like, I'm going to tell you how, and I could go back to everyday struggle type of days. In my opinion, I felt I brought about 70% of the audience to everyday struggle. I'm going to be honest with you. I felt from the 70% of those people I brought, I think 40 to 45% people left with Joe when Joe left. They loved Joe. They hated him at first. And then they grew to love him and they left with him. Now, they probably still fuck with me, still. But, like, they fell in love with who Joe Budden was. Because that was always an enigma, too, with me. Like, a lot of the audience who I was super serving, they were younger. And then there were some older people who would fuck with me, but they were like, yo, come on, man. We want you to age the content. The people, like, a lot of my audience was like, you do a podcast. I'm like, nah, not everybody wants me to do a podcast. When they found Joe, it was like, oh, shit. We don't really like this thing, but, yo, he kind of giving it up kind of the same way. Fuck. We gonna fuck with him. They love Joe. And I always, that's credit to Joe. That's why you collaborate. Working with Joe, I think, helped me too. So it's not one of those things I just felt like so it's great. So I always think he's going to be good, and I think that's why he's always going to be on this list, right? At least for now. And also, lastly, while I disagree wholeheartedly with how Joe deals with business, how he dealt with business with Complex, he had points. The nigga is not crazy. The way he goes about it in a corporate world is essentially like being on the bridge and just pouring gasoline as you walk. And before you get over the bridge, you flick your lighter and burn it while you're still on the bridge. I'm like, what the fuck is this nigga doing? And then you start running when you start seeing the catch the fire. I'm like, what the fuck is this nigga doing? So I've always disagreed with that, but I've also acknowledged that he's the only nigga who could do that. So I'm gonna give that. Myself. It is hard to be critical of myself. It's hard to be critical of myself. But I am, I think, one of my biggest critics. Me being on this particular list, I think, is an acknowledgement of everything I've worked for, but also the acknowledgement of the times. I've combined, and my strategy to, Remember, I was looking up Charlamagne, so I'm like, yo, how the fuck am I gonna get on like a Breakfast Club type show? They're not giving out like, nigga, they want you to go fucking intern and go like work some lower radio stations in Idaho and make it out. And I'm like, I know I'm gonna do it. I don't need them to give me an opportunity. I don't need them to put me on some small ass radio station. I'm gonna build a platform and also have a voice. I built the Akademiks brand as a platform, and I was the voice of it. And I think in the last like couple of years, it's kind of evident that, you know, we have a very strong hold, and I credit all to y'all. It's the chat niggas, you know. And I know, like, I look at the chat niggas as really a core group of people, but it's like, it's people who are like-minded to us, people who realize that whether you're thinking about opinions, getting information, rap news, things you care about, not everyone is caring about that older demographic. And I only really think I represent the newer demographic. You know, I think that helps a lot. So, humbly, and without doing the soldier boy, I thank people like Elliot Wilson for recognizing me, because it's not really only recognizing me, it's recognizing new media. I watched the BET Awards nominate. They do nominations every year for best media company or best media, whatever. And every year they look past. Every day I look through my email. Hot new hip hop, this and third. They all like, they're using my articles or not articles, but like things that come from my page or my YouTube, my Twitch, this and third. And yeah, it's relevant. It's relevant to rap news. BET act like we don't exist. It's like, who give a fuck about these niggas, right? So that it's not just me though, and that's why I always tell the newer people who sometimes they feel like they're fighting against me. It's like, it's kind of like in a Kanye in a way, and I hope I'm not trying to compare myself to him. I'm just saying, I'm kicking down this door that like hopefully in 5 years, shit, it might not be Charlamagne, might not be Joe Budden, might not be me on this list in 5 years. For that year, Mount Rushmore, it might be just 3 dope YouTube channels. Who knows? Might be DJ Ghost, Blackie Speaks, Hassan Campbell. Might be, I don't know, who else be doing anything. I'll give everybody credit. Whoever. So, you know, I hope people understand that part of it. But I said all that to say, if we were going to add a fourth, who would it be? Now, I have about 3 candidates, and I want to discuss it with y'all. And I'm spending way too much time on this topic, but I love topics like this. 4 candidates, actually. Gilly. Salute to $1 million worth of game, right? I think they're doing a great job of connecting the dots and connecting generations. Great job establishing conversation pieces. They do a lot of interviews. I'm going to be honest with you, with all due respect to the Breakfast Club, and I love the Breakfast Club, and I love Charlamagne, I love DJ Envy and Angela Yee. I think some of the best rap interviews with the biggest moments have came from $1 million worth of game. They do a lot of interviews, and it's connected. So I'm going to say Gilly. And maybe I should just link both of them, Gilly and Wallow, I guess. But okay. Other than them, secondly is I gotta do Nori. Nori and salute to DJ FN. Nori. I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna say Nori though. Because Nori is holding it down for, like, even though you could be like, oh well, Joe and Charlamagne, they're from a different Nori's media existence and Drink Champ's media existence is the exact reason why Versus could be a success. Because we have so many fond moments from artists we love, from times of music we love, that if historically we followed how music was really covered, when you get old, you just disappear. You go do some like get back together tour, or like, oh, this was, hey, the 2000s tour, whatever you want to call it. But you don't really have a voice afterwards to tell those untold stories. And hip hop, we're getting at a point where a lot of these stories, they're getting up there in age. You know, like, shit, people want to know how Cam really felt about like some of the stuff with Jay-Z back in the Rockefeller days when Dame made him president. And people want to figure out how, like, how stuff came together with, Death Row, and obviously Snoop Dogg dealing with Dr. Dre and Tupac's existence and shit, even Suge Knight around those times. People want to know about some of these legendary things. And I do believe that Drink Champs, I like how they position their platform to say, you got to be a legend to be on here. And I think that's dope. I really like that. Okay. So what did I say? Gilly and then Nori. And that's in no order, by the way. I love Nori. The next two people y'all are not going to like. I don't think y'all don't like him. Who's the next two? Well, I got one for sure. I'm going to be honest. Vlad TV, man. Vlad TV got to be on that shit. I think Vlad's interviews this year has given a lot of viral moments, pushed a lot of things, whether good or bad, caused a lot of controversial, things to happen in just its like fallout. Vlad, numbers wise, also is number one in the game right now. I always keep it 100. There was a couple years ago, I remember I was beating Vlad's ass. But this year, I think last year too, Vlad beating everybody's ass. I remember there was a year I was beating Breakfast Club. I'm just talking about YouTube. This is only YouTube. Remember just YouTube. I was beating Breakfast Club, and I was killing Hot 97. In the last 2 years, man, Vlad is giving everybody. And by the way, I got to give him credit for that, because him potentially being on this year's Media Mount Rushmore is because of years of work. Like, he's had a catalog of interviews and content before I got in the game. That nigga been putting in work. And he one of them people who don't care if people like him. He don't care what people say about him. He don't necessarily feel he got to respond. Like, I always told him, I'm like, yo, when a nigga mention my name, I get on Twitch and I violate him. And he always just say, I just let it go. But Vlad is probably a strong competitor for 4. Y'all ain't gonna like